Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision making in the world of business. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Tisha Cable, CEO of C Model Data, and today we have a true visionary in the world of advertising and marketing. His name is Tom. He's the founder and CEO of Riley Hayes Advertising. He's got a career that spans over 3 decades, and he has dedicated his work to a powerful philosophy, one that says that AI cannot replicate human empathy. I agree with him. And that building real customer relationships is the key to strategic success. His company, Riley Hayes Advertising, integrates both modern digital methods and traditional tactics to create impactful customer engagement and results for their clients. So, Tom, thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to the show. Please do tell us more about Riley Hayes. Tell us more about you. Give the audience a good old intro.
Well, first off, I got to be clear. Riley is my mother's maiden name, but it's like a good housekeeping seal of approval that my mom didn't put her name on any other agencies, but it also was a way to double down on the Irish. So that's the first thing. Thank you, Mom. Secondly, Riley Hayes has been around for 34 years. And what a great adventure that's been. You know, we've gone through all these various technologies. We've experienced all this change in how we reach out to people. But the reality is there's been a constant throughout that. And that constant is how people interface with messaging. How people are persuaded is no different now than it was before. There's no magic silver bullet to persuading people that didn't exist before. Aristotle said there are only 3 ways to persuade people. Number 1 is pathos, with passion, with emotion. Number 2 is logos, with logic. And number 3 is ethos, your reputation. And so as we bring humanity to humanity, we have a deep understanding of how people think and react to messaging.
That's good stuff. And hey, let me just give you a super duper congratulations for 34 years in business. 8 to 12 years is the average age of a business.
Wow.
In your industry.
Wow.
In advertising. So the fact that you've gone long before that just says a lot about how you do business. So I just want to congratulate you on that, because very few businesses get to see that. Okay, so you have built Riley Hayes on this principle right now, today, that AI cannot replicate human empathy. Yet we know that generative AI now produces creative content at this unprecedented scale and cost. So when clients question why they should invest in human creativity over algorithms, can you walk us through a moment when this sort of tension has become real for you? And how do you articulate the tangible business value of empathy-driven work when procurement departments are comparing like your proposal to some AI-generated campaign at a fraction of the cost?
Yeah. And so the reality is that let's take these graphic aspect of our business. AI can do some very cool graphic things at minimal cost, right? I mean, next to zero, but it's really an analog to old-fashioned illustration. Somebody thought up the idea. Someone had the concept. Someone had to tweak whatever it came up with. It just kind of took away, it's a little like a modern keyboard versus writing something out longhand. It made things faster. It made things perhaps better, though it'll never replace an Ansel Adams photo or a Picasso or when you see a baby smile. Can't quite get that. But so it's really, it's that part of it's kind of an analog. But when you look at, for example, writing, we can't compete against AI when it can knock out 1,000 emails in 23 seconds. But we have to remember that every one of those emails is generated by a technology that reverts to the mean. We have to remember that all the data that goes into AI, it then averages it all out, right? So it will never have the style. It'll never, it can mimic styles, but it can have genuine styles. If a brand has a voice, to speak in that voice and to understand how humans are going to react to that. If you're just doing perfunctory work, go use AI. That'll be great for you. And if you want that kind of bottom dollar aspect, AI is great at that. But AI is great at being cheap, but it's never great at being good. And it's never been great at being great.
Okay, so because we do know that there is a difference between being good and being great. I like that. I think my main takeaway from there is for our audience, actually, this concept that technology that reverts to the mean. So being clear that AI is a predictive tool. It's
Yeah,
using its mathematics, and so it's
yeah,
predicting a value based on other values. So I love this, that when we think about human ingenuity, that's not what it is. These are
yeah.
these natural gifts coming to play. Really good. Go ahead.
And how do we surprise people? AI never
Mm,
surprises people. AI says exactly what we think you should be. For example, when you've got AI turned on your computer and you're typing away, and then it fills in the sentence for you because that's what everybody does. Our business is not to do what everybody does, but to stand out. And so, um,
yeah.
if you're a mediocre writer, boy, use AI because that might be better than you are. But if you know how to write, you have a big leg up.
How do we surprise people? Okay, those are the new words going
Yeah.
into the whole week for me. Okay, so your career, it actually spans from Mad Men style to
Hmm.
intuition to today's really programmatic precision. So the
Hmm.
industry has really shifted to performance marketing with immediate attribution.
Yep.
Yet you maintain that relationship building remains paramount. So when you think about allocating budget between traditional brand building that might lack clear ROI metrics and performance channels promising
Yep.
instant conversion data, how do you justify investments whose value might only become clear over years? Have
Well,
you lost any clients or anything who just couldn't even wait that long? And how did you navigate
no.
those
Well,
decisions?
first off,
Yeah.
there's lift. Create attribution models and then test the lift that branding gives you within your performance marketing. So it's not like you have to wait for years, but you have to keep in mind, are people going to trust you if they don't know who you are? Coca-Cola still invests a massive amount in keeping their brand one of the best in the world. Apple does the same. And those brands were built over time. It's always a blend of things, right? We have a client right now that has a tremendous brand in the Twin Cities market. And so we can push more performance marketing, but in other markets, nobody knows who they are. And because it's a category that requires tremendous trust, we have to lean more on the brand side. It's not that performance marketing is going to replace branding, but even within the performance marketing, we have to have the brand voice within that. It's not to look at it in a binary way is not quite right. What you want is for the work to both forward the brand and create the performance. The people on either side of that equation would claim that the other is neutered, but that's not true. You have to in performance marketing, you have to speak within the brand voice, and you can only do a limited amount of branding that if it doesn't deliver at all.
Yeah. So it's a best of both worlds optimization, is what
Yeah,
it sounds
and
like.
it's the situation challenges you to understand where on the spectrum you should be. So in performance marketing, the work we've done, I mean, boy, we've done hundreds of pieces of performance marketing for, say, Delta or Walgreens, Best Buy, that it has to perform. But we bring some great ideas to the table. This dearth of ideas within our marketplace is people making excuses for lack of commitment, lack of talent sometimes. It's all a great ad, performance-wise, will outdo a average ad.
I kind of want to talk about ideas a little bit here. So,
Mhm.
so you worked at Carmichael Lynch during the era when agencies created cultural touchstones, right?
Yep,
These were the campaigns
yep,
that people remembered for decades. Now, today though, the landscape fragments attention across all kinds of countless
mhm,
micro moments. So
yep.
when you're developing strategy, how do you decide between pursuing breakthrough creative that might become culturally resonant versus optimizing for conversion across multiple small touch points? Is there a particular moment where you sort of push clients towards bold ideas and bold work, even when testing might have suggested these much safer approaches could perform better?
Well, first off, because you can optimize media in real time, I compare it to the old days. It's like you have this rock, and you'd throw the rock, and then months later, you'd discover the rock land where you wanted it to land. But now it's more like you have a drone that you send this way, and if it's off course, you can tack this way, you can tack that way, and you can land right where you want. So the ability to test in real time, you don't have to pre-test anymore. um, what you do is you put them both in the marketplace and then optimize to the winner. So it's not as this notion, gee, we can choose bad concepts outperform good concepts. No, good concepts are concepts that sell as well, and you're optimizing to that.
Mm. It's good. I hope my audience is paying a lot of attention. These are all what I consider to be nuggets of wisdom. Okay, so Riley Hayes, it really helps and serves both cash strapped startups who need immediate customer
Yeah.
acquisition and established brands that might need reinvention.
Yep.
A startup founder that's facing a 3 month runway needs customers like today, whereas an enterprise client might want to reposition over 18 months. How does your human centered philosophy adapt to these really drastically different timelines when you're working on it?
Well, a cash strapped company needs customers right away, but if it immediately goes to the discount bin, it's doomed. That's the death spiral, right? I mean, that you don't know who we are, but we're 50% off, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now if you're giving away free beer, you just say free beer, right? And everybody's going to sign up for it. But a cash strapped company does need customers right away. But I think it's a false dichotomy. That brand has to stand for something that humans need, um, and be understood for what it is, so it delivers on it. One of the old sayings is that you think about brands and you think about products, and a bad product is really a huge driver in all this, right? Is it a good product? Is it a bad product? Do people try it and like it? We make brand promises that will lead them to the sale, but if it's a bad product, it dies. There's an old saying that nothing kills a bad product faster than good advertising, because people try it and disappear. But to go to the discount bin on day one for a small business is disastrous.
Good advice. No discount bin. You guys hear that? Okay.
Well,
So you
yeah, I just think it's, this, gee, we need customers right now. Yeah, you got to be scrappy. You got to do stuff. But if nobody knows who you are and nobody knows who you stand for, what difference does it make how much, you've discounted it?
Yeah, I think that's misinterpretation around value. People value something that they understand, that they trust and know, and they really don't have value until they hit that point in
Yeah,
time. So
yeah,
you could mistakenly decrease your value right off the jump with discounting versus going through the process of getting people to understand the value
yeah.
of what you have. That's good.
And the work has to address a human need, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't bypass that. If it
Yeah.
doesn't address a human need, why would someone spend money on it?
Yeah. Well, come on.
So anyway,
Address a human need. Okay, so as a writer who
yeah,
has turned CEO, you understand craft intimately.
I hope so.
Yet, right, today though,
Yeah.
you're accountable for business outcomes. So when you're actually like pursuing creatively excellent work, when you're trying to do that and it means that you've got to stretch timelines or budgets versus delivering serviceable work that meets contractual obligations, how do you make that call? What happens when your creative judgment says this needs more time, but the P&L says we're over budget?
Those conundrums were much greater in the past than they are in the present. Clients have little patience for we need more time or we need more budget. In the old days, we could be rather effete in the whole thing and say, I'm just not ready yet. You're going to have to wait. Genius takes time. The reality is when you take a job and you're a professional, you do it within the budget and within the timeline. And yes, some projects require a moment of genius, but that's built into the start. That's built in the timeline. It's built in the budget. Our job is to do really good work, no matter how large or small the project is. And the reality is there are a lot of really small projects that we did work that transformed that company. I mean, it's been, that's one of the gratifying things. Just, you got to do everything well. It's like Steve Jobs worrying about, how does the backside of the whatever look? If you walk the path that we're walking, it's about every day you got to do the best work you can do, and to do less kind of let yourself down, let your customers down. And it's really not much fun at
That's
all.
right. It's the concept that your execution can be a competitive
Yeah.
advantage. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and AI can set you up for a great execution. It's really, we're talking about the final mile here. We're
Yeah,
not talking about us poo-pooing all the things that AI can do. It's about the final mile. It's about that human interface that we
yeah.
really have to focus on.
Yeah, this is what C model talks about a lot of times is in decision intelligence being the final mile, right? It's about equipping people with the right information at the right time so that they can decide, human beings, making them better
Yeah.
suited and able to do the work that needs to be done. So that's really good. All right, here's our final segment. It's my favorite. It's called the decision making persona assessment. So
Okay.
we're going to explore your decision making style through this persona assessment. So I'm going to present 4 different approaches. And
Okay.
after each, you're going to tell me how much it resonates with your actual process on a scale of 0 to 100%. Now, you
Okay.
only get 100% across all 4. Okay. So you have to keep track
Okay.
of where you are. And I can't give them all to you up front. I give them one at a time, and then you'll say a little bit about why.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? Here's
Yeah.
the first one. It's called the feeler. It's a values driven leader. So, this persona prioritizes alignment with core mission and considers the human impact of marketing decisions. So, when considering a campaign or client partnership, I ask myself, beyond business metrics, what are the human consequences of the stories we're telling? If we create this work, are we enriching people's lives or adding to the noise that exhausts consumers? When we craft messages, tapping into emotional vulnerabilities to drive purchases, are we honoring humanity or exploiting it? Even when clients push for aggressive tactics, promising conversion, I need confidence that we're building brands that people genuinely want in their lives. When a lucrative client wants us to create work that feels manipulative, perhaps targeting financial anxieties to sell unnecessary products, how do I balance our team's livelihood against the erosion of values that define us? So, Tom, how much does approaching decisions through that ethical responsibility lens resonate with your leadership?
I got to save something for later, but I'd say about 50%. And gee, have I done work before that presently I would not be proud of? Yes. But that's a result of before I could become an old man, I had to be a young man. And so, yeah, and I think that's distinguished our work. But But we also have to help clients understand the long-term ramifications of doing predatory work. And we've done a lot of work we're proud of. And frankly, the predatory work is temporarily effective sometimes, but it's always corrosive in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. I think the challenge is that a lot of people, some of these practices have been around for so long that they don't even think about this work as predatory.
Yeah.
So that's one of the keys, is having someone around who knows which tactics are good and bad versus going with the status quo. Very good. Here's our next one. It's called.
The other thing I'd say is there are plenty of practitioners they can hire to do that work. They don't need me to do it. And, I'm not saying I can't be bribed into doing it, because of course all of us have fallen short of the glory of God. But yeah.
I get it. Here's your next one. You ready? It's called the planner.
I only got 50% left. Okay.
You got 50% left. That's okay. Yeah. So that's a good start. So the planner is a strategic visionary. So this persona thinks in cultural currents and long-term brand positioning. So when making strategic decisions about campaign direction or agency positioning, I'm considering multiple futures simultaneously. In one scenario, AI-generated content floods every channel, making authentic human creativity exponentially more valuable as a differentiator. In another, consumers become so fatigued by marketing that only utility-focused brands survive, rendering creative storytelling obsolete. In a third, attention fractures so completely that only massive media budgets can break through, disadvantaging boutique agencies like ours. Each future requires different capabilities. Do I invest in AI tools to remain competitive, double down on human craft as our moat, or pivot toward consultation rather than execution? How do I position Riley Hayes so we're relevant across these scenarios without becoming generalists who excel at nothing? So, Tom, how much does that scenario planning approach drive your strategic decisions?
Yeah, and while I wouldn't agree with all the items you've packed within there, so there's little Trojan horses in there that make me uncomfortable. But I think that is, I'm going to give that 25%, because, and I think about it both for Riley Hayes, but as we're working with our clients, so often they have to answer the existential question, who are we? Which, it's amazing how many clients today don't know who they are.
Come on. You are, yes.
So, yeah, and it's, so our job is to help them understand who they are, not to tell them who they are. I like to say it's like we show them how to put the best face of the pumpkin forward. But yeah, I think I'd agree with that. But we got to be of service to clients, and so that is weighing long-term, short-term. I remember once I saw some really awful work done by the Mayo Clinic, and I thought, Mayo Clinic is one of the greatest brands in the world, and these guys just they didn't tank the brand, because not everybody's going to see it, and of course, but the brand was a little less than it was before they did it. It's like the old Boy Scout thing. You always leave a campsite cleaner than you found it, and you always want to leave the brand better than it was before.
All right. You ready? Okay. Here's your next one. It's called the counter. It's a...
Can I, at the end, reallocate?
You can, at the end.
Okay, good.
At the end. Yes, should you choose to.
Yeah.
Here's your next one. It's called the counter. It's the challenger of assumptions. So this persona questions industry orthodoxies about what constitutes effective advertising. So when evaluating strategies and industry trends, I ask myself, what fundamental assumptions about effective advertising might be wrong? While everyone races towards personalization and programmatic precision, are we losing sight of how shared cultural experiences actually build brands? The measurement frameworks that we've built, click-through rates, engagement metrics, attribution models, might be optimizing for the wrong outcomes, training us to create work that performs in testing but fails in the real world. But what if our 3 decades of experience position us to see what newer agencies can't? that some truths about human nature and storytelling matter more than the latest marketing technology? Or am I just rationalizing why we haven't invested more aggressively in MarTech? So, Tom, how much does that assumption challenging style influence your decisions?
I'll give it 15%, because fundamentally you need to zig while the other guys are zagging, right? I mean, you have to do something different. And one of the things that everybody's in right now, the whole AI thing reminds me of when the web came out, and you had these webmasters and they had secret knowledge that no one else had. And of course it was a lot of puffery and the flooding of market of AI experts. But if we have all this new technology, why isn't consumer that encourages purchasing? Why isn't consumer demand going up? What's going on here? We're spending more on all these things, yet consumer demand is, you know, it's like all these new golf clubs that are out there that are so terrific, but people's scores aren't going down,
Right.
right? And so what's going on? Is this just fool's gold? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't. First off, I have a lot of respect for what technology can do for us, but it's not like people are just draining their wallets to buy things because AI told them to.
Right. It's the outcome problem,
Yeah.
right? What are the actual outcomes? How are we measuring them?
Mhm.
What do they actually say? And because it's the outcomes that enable us to optimize
Yeah.
something. We want to improve them. So most of these things aren't even starting at an outcome. They're starting at because this is what's going on these
Yeah.
days. So
Yeah.
really, really good. You ready for your next one? Oh, go
Well,
for it.
the other thing I'd
Yeah.
say about MarTech technology, if you look into the MarTech technology spend, it's like if you buy the entire Adobe suite, do you know how few you can't find somebody who knows how to run it?
Come
There's
on.
this huge investment that is underutilized with all that. It's incredible talking to really big companies. I mean, top 5 in the world, not in the world, in the country, who have this massive spend with Adobe, and they can't get it running.
This is such a huge point. It's why consultants make a lot of money
Mhm.
because it's always broken. I don't care if you're talking
Yeah.
about the Salesforces, the HubSpots,
Yeah.
the whatever it is of the world, the part. I mean, like there's a million tools and there's always a problem. There's never the reporting. The data is never right. It's
Mhm.
never enough. So I always need someone else to come in, and it's like turnover of turnover. Very
Yeah.
rarely are you going to find a company that's truly optimizing with these tools. They're missing something.
Yep.
And most of what they're missing is human.
Talent. Absolutely.
There's an
Absolutely.
expertise that's necessary in order to do that optimization. So that's
Because
really good.
Adobe will say anybody can do it. I
Yeah.
mean, your
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
will come in, we'll train them, they'll be great. Well, you can train me for a year on Adobe, and I have none of the gifts
Yeah.
that will allow me to be a even mediocre practitioner on that.
Okay. Here's your last one. You ready?
Sure. Yep.
It's called the data driver. It's an evidence-based decision maker. So this persona seeks measurable validation while recognizing that impactful creative work often resists quantification. So before committing to strategies or campaign approaches, I ask myself, what evidence will show whether this creates real business impact versus just creative recognition? Beyond vanity metrics like impressions or awards, what leading indicators, brand recall studies, customer lifetime value changes, organic advocacy rates, sales lift in test markets give us unambiguous feedback? Yet, I also recognize that some of the most successful work succeeded precisely because it couldn't be validated by pre-testing. You said this earlier, by the way. It required creative courage to pursue something risky on paper, but transformative in market. How do I balance measurable accountability with the reality that breakthrough creative work often defies data-driven prediction? When I do override testing that says, don't do this because my experience says the data is missing something. So, Tom, how much does that evidence seeking yet creatively aware approach guide your decisions?
Yeah, I maybe 5%. I don't know what we're totaling up here, but 25.
You got 10 left. You
I
had
got
10
10
left.
left, so and we're all done. But I would, one of the realities is people won't spend money on pre-testing anymore. I mean, it's been a remarkable change. We see some of it with procurement out there. It's like, well, what do you get from pre-testing? And for people to understand how the entire model works, we use a lot of focus groups still so that we understand how human beings react to it and get insight in that way. But I think the data thing is really groovy for MBAs that have to that it's kind of a CYA thing, but obviously it has to be a part of what we do has to work.
Right.
But for something to work, it involves a lot of factors. I remember once we did some work for Northwest Airlines, and it was this little what we call the buck slip. It showed up in the mail somehow, and it was you got $10 off Canadian dollars off your next flight. Well, nobody's going to choose a flight because they got $10 off. Doesn't matter how good our creative is, you know. I don't know if I've answered your question there.
You did. It's all good. It's your questions to answer. So I got you at 50% feeler, 25% planner, 15% counter, and 10% data driver. Good job.
Yeah, I'd take the whatever I had left off from the value thing to the start first one.
Add it to 55. So you
that's
take
really
okay.
Well, that's kind of what we're known for, and I think one of the things that and a part of it is my seniority, part of it is my personality, but my ability to work with senior executives and help them understand kind of the physics of marketing and why doing the right thing is in terms of all your constituents is the right thing. And so I have a little easier time of that than say when I was younger, where I just say, hey man, this work is cool. And if you don't get how cool this work is, you are not cool. I mean, that's the arrogance of youth, right? And actually, that's a quote from someone else. I never would have said that. But, we have to serve our clients. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And gee, has a client asked me to do work? It's not that it's immoral. It just isn't. I don't do predatory work. I've had people generate work in the shop, and I've told them that ad will never see the light of day coming out of Riley Hayes. You're not going to present that to the client because it doesn't uphold fundamental values I have as a person. So, yeah. Anyway, there you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for sharing such thoughtful perspectives on advertising, creativity, and human-centered leadership. This approach of combining strategic rigor with this deep commitment to authentic human connection, it really does give a refreshing counterpoint to an industry that's often obsessed with algorithmic optimization. So thank you so much for doing that. Can you tell our listeners where they can learn more about you and more about Riley Hayes?
Yeah. First off, thanks for having me here. I love the questions. I love the back and forth. I love the energy, and you kept me on my toes the whole time. So that always makes it fun for me. And if you want to know more about Riley Hayes, go to our website, RILEYHAYES.com. See our good work, understand a little bit more about our philosophy, and see if we're right for you. And one of the key things we didn't get to here is we're all about creating with joy. You get to create. And that creates joy for both our clients and for ourselves.
I do appreciate that. And I do think that joy is so important. It's important every single day to wake up and understand that joy is actually your opportunity every day. It's all about the choices we make. So I love that you brought that up. So for our listeners, I want to thank you for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. If this episode sparked any new thinking about your approach, your creativity, customer relationships, authentic brand building, please do subscribe, rate, and share this with your network. Keep the conversation going sharing on social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. And until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.